So then, without further ado, we're going to start off with our first systems presenter, which is Lutheran Services Florida Health System and Dusty Pie. Take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see everybody on the call. Wow, it's full of folks. We appreciate that. And we certainly want to be a benefit to all you guys. Um, LF Systems provides really community-based leadership to the behavioral health system. We're sort of been put in charge basically of the system of care, making sure that opportunities and access is available to the poor, the indigent, the underinsured, the non-insured, and so that we can make sure that they can get the services they need. We serve 23 counties, and we want to make sure that every county there's at least a representative of mental health services, behavioral health, which can include, for adults, children, substance abuse, and mental health type services. If you look at this screen here, you see a lot of different things. I came from child welfare. I was in child welfare services about 20 years with a private company, and then here in Florida, and then came to LSF. And I said, well, this will be an easy job. They just sit around, write contracts, and say hey to people. Well, that's not exactly the way it ended up. They did far more than that as a managing entity, which was pretty exciting. But you see, if you go around the circle here, child welfare integration, we work with all of the child welfare agencies in our area, making sure that they have services and make sure really that the services as well is providing what they need, what the young people need in their area. We have clinical and quality improvement. Please, okay. Back one, Sam, if we could. Care coordination, community engagement. We have Leslie on here. I'm not sure if Nancy is, but many of you have met Leslie. She's our community engagement specialist. Basically, what they do is attend meetings all day long, every day, and try to establish different conversations, maybe set up different meetings to make sure that they're being heard, and if there's gaps found, that we're doing something about that. Compliance, we do a lot of monitoring, data. We, of course, fund. We have about $280 million a year from grants and from the state that we fund a lot of programs. I think now we have right at 99 different agencies that we fund. Housing and SOAR, network management, those are our contract folks, resource development, and then training, which is to me one of our gems for sure. And that's what Sam, who's leading this PowerPoint, she heads that up. We're thankful for Sam. Thank you. All right, next. Some of the services that we fund and provide, you'll know and you'll recognize crisis stabilization for substance abuse and mental health. We have Detox, Baker Act, Marchman Act, assessment and treatment. Now, all of these services are not in every county, and some of them may not be in like the CSU, may not be in St. Johns County, but there's one in Volusia, one in Duval for youth, and so we certainly like to see one there one day. Inpatient services, we have psychiatric and substance abuse treatment for children and adults. We help in the placement needs for youth, like this young lady in the story. Outpatient services, which is probably the largest group that we fund, mental health and substance abuse counseling, MAT, or medication assisted treatment, which is sort of a new way of addressing the opioid, more than just used to be the old methadone. Well, it's not that anymore. There's plenty of good things to use in medications. Day treatment, drop-in centers, FACT teams, CAT teams, different type things like that. Community support services, case management, care coordination. Some of our counties and some of our larger agencies have a mental health clubhouse where folks can come and hang out a few minutes. Or during the day, they'll have a program for folks that may have a little more serious mental illness that maybe aren't working and need that extra support. Recovery support services and peers. We try to help with housing where we can, and SOAR, making sure that folks can get into a house. Then specialty programs for children and families. We have CAT teams, fit light teams, FIS, which is now FTC, we're calling it, just it's a little bit different. It's almost the same, but that's sort of a person that child welfare gets a hold of and talks about the child. And so the FIS help direct to the right services in that area. And then, of course, mobile crisis teams of all type. We have a mobile response team in every county that's responsible for every county in 23 counties. So we're happy about that. They serve born to adults, any age group. All right, next. We oversee the service delivery, like I mentioned, with 99 providers serving 23 counties. We distribute 250, which that is what we basically get from the state, but then we also get a lot of money from grants every year to help with special projects and different things that the state dollars may not pay for or may not have enough of those dollars. We brought an extra 20.4 in grant resources in the last 4 years to serve the individuals in need. We do criminal justice reinvestment grants, SAMHSA, HRSA grants, which are federal grants, as well as foundation grants, even from Florida Blue Foundation, which most of you may know about. Grants are a big part for us. Our training institute provides hundreds of hours of training each year to professionals in the community at large. I mean, the topics are here, but this is a small grouping of topics that Samantha Davis and her team train. They provide CEUs for licensed professionals. Training topics can include mental health first aid, trauma-informed care, motivational interviewing, wraparound, targeted case management, as you see there, certified peer recovery specialist training. And we even help some of those folks find jobs once they get certified. So that's one of our super cool things we do, the recovery peer specialist training. I don't know, we've trained close to probably 350 to 400 peers in the last few years, and it's been a really good asset for the community having peers. You find them now in all type of agencies, not just in substance abuse at a substance abuse agency. They're in the fit teams and other places, so they have become a very important part. We're glad we're a part of that. So recovery-oriented system of care, as we talk about recovery and substance use, person-centered approach focused on individual strengths and abilities, self-determination, effective communication, and family participation and utilization of peers. And so we do find that this recovery-oriented wraparound type system of care is no doubt one of the best ways to serve folks with mental health issues. Because we always have said, and I used to do mental health substance abuse work for Meridian years ago, and we always said in our groups that, substance use is a family disorder, but we never really did a whole lot with the families. But ROSC has kind of thrown that in, and it's been a good thing for the state as we realize how important the family members can be in the utilization of peers. We have, like I said, sustainable peer workforce, supporting individuals, funding and support for peer-led recovery community organizations in our communities. We support, I think, 7 RCOs, and I think we're adding a couple more this year. These have been a great, just peer-oriented, peer-run organizations that get out there and just help folks in recovery continue to find their way to success. So the ROSC initiative has been going on for years and very cool. Care coordination. These are just some of our major kind of parts we're talking about here. Effective care coordination focuses on services and supports that impact the individual's well-being, including primary health care, housing, employment, peer and natural supports, as well as community-based treatment. Care coordination is a huge part of what we do. Care coordination is sort of what you might consider the old case management. People say case management on steroids, and I guess that maybe explain it, but care coordination goes much further. They follow the family, they work with the family in the home. We have care coordination for, just like for this story, for this young lady, we would, if she's showing up continually in these type of high risk, high utilization type services, then we would assign her to care coordination. And that would be someone that would follow her and support her and her family as they continue to work on wellness and recovery of these issues. Okay, Sam? Resource development is if you look at the system of care, and all of these folks on the call here and their different agencies are a part of it, we're always looking for some way to help someone. There's so many needs and so much help needed in our communities for so many different problems, and even problems maybe that we don't identify as a serious one, yet if it continues will become one. Ellis, we're always dedicated to bringing additional resources to our communities. We do that through grants, we do that through initiatives. We sit around at the office and talk about different ideas. How can we serve the same people in a different way? Because as you know, it's not all the same. Everybody doesn't respond equally to the same service. So that could be health resources grants, Florida Blue grants, criminal justice grants, substance abuse, mental health services. And then we could say the DCF has been many, many times helpful in us making sure we had the funding to do some out of the box type thinking and things that we'd like to put together for the communities. And we always appreciate the community input. We try to go to the behavioral health consortiums and alliance meetings so that we can also hear what's going on in those communities, where the gaps are, what's working, what's not working. And that's what Leslie and Nancy and my job is, kind of out there as we go along every day. And so this helps us determine what type of resource, what type of grant do we need to look for to serve what type of issue. Okay. One of the intensive services to children that many of you may know, and I think Says and others will speak about this, is our community action team. CAT is intended to be a safe, effective alternative to out-of-home placement for children with mental health conditions. This is sort of a response to kids that are having issues that may show up at CSUs pretty regular. We try to keep them out of that and make them successful in the community. And that's what the community action team is all about helping young people with a little more serious or recurring mental health issues that they can get out there. And you'll hear more about it. Upon successful completion, the family should have the skills and natural support systems needed to help and make improvements during these services and afterwards. Okay. FIT, Family Intensive Treatment Model. This is a child welfare program. I guess FIT teams were started probably 10 or 11 years ago. Over the years, they have been directed by legislation to put them in certain counties. As LSF, health systems, had money in certain areas, we would open new FIT teams in other different counties. And we also even what we call open some FIT light teams, which are very similar, but they kind of loosen some of the criteria. So at times we can work with that community, because communities are different as people are. You know, they're all different, and some things work. The family intensive treatment model is designed to provide intensive, team-based, family-focused, comprehensive services to families in the child welfare system where there is substance abuse with the parents. And so they help them in the home. They help them find residential treatment if they need it. They do drug tests with the family. And it's just really, how can we make this family successful and they can get their kids back? That's what FIT Team is all about. Great program. This is something brand new that we've done the last 2 years. This is what we call Uplift Communities. And basically, I'm the Chief Integration Officer and also the Faith Communities Liaison. And we have a lot of rural communities in our catchment, 23 counties, and I'd say 20 of them are pretty rural counties, basically. So what we have done to try to kind of maybe increase the access and include everyone in the system of care, we have reached out in these days events and other things to collaborate with the faith community. We've had two such events in um, St. Augustine, St. Johns County the last 2 years. We had an all-day event out at the Ag Center. And we also just recently, which was really wonderful, at one of the local churches over in the West Side, we had a morning of recovery panels where folks that are in recovery were able to speak to us and share to professional folks how it felt to be in treatment, what they needed, what they didn't get, how their family succeeded. A lot of good stuff went on that day, but it's really a collaboration, bringing the faith community to our community and putting them all in the same room and say, how can we work together to help our communities? I guess I had that idea when we started this because being a pastor evangelist in the past, I knew how important churches were in the rural community. There's not a behavioral health center on every corner, but there is a church on every corner or a temple or some type of ministry. So Uplift Communities is just bringing greater awareness of mental health issues and resources to rural communities to increase collaboration and impact. I guess we've had 10 or 11 different ones in the last 2 years, and we'll probably be back to St. Johns County again one day. Our next one will be in Flagler County, July the 10th, and it's at the Methodist Church right downtown in Bunnell. These uplift communities have been very exciting. People have gotten met new friends, met new providers. It's been a very good plus. All right, that's, I think, about the end of the slides. LSF Health Systems, we appreciate the Florida Department of Children and Families contracting us and let us provide these funds and services to our communities. Okay. Next, go back to the story. And so how does LSF Health Systems relate and help with this family? Well, one thing is for sure, most of the services that this young person would need that's in the behavioral health sector, we fund a lot of those type services. Now, we fund services for the indigent, the underinsured, and the non-insured. The thing about young people, always gives us a challenge. Generally, in the state of Florida, most kids, especially come through child welfare or in some of our different families, have Medicaid. So Medicaid is always the first insurance to look at. What does Medicaid provide? And then if Medicaid doesn't provide a service, then we see if we can't step up and help that young person with that. If the Medicaid, let's say, they have some of the service could be paid with Medicaid, just like residential treatment sometimes for kids. Medicaid pays for the treatment part. We pay for the beds. We pay the daily bed stay. We do that many times with what we call single case agreements. As we are working with the agency and the agency's working with the family, we pull everybody together and make sure that the funding is available to that agency while that is needed for that young person. You see here the child has been referred to services by the school. You see she lives with a mother and two young siblings. Her parents are separated. I think we see these type of stories every day that we go to work and show up somewhere. There was suspected abuse in the home. We do a lot of help and listening and involvement with child welfare agencies. We don't provide the service ourselves. We're a managing entity, but when we see the need, we get involved with the agency that's providing the service. We also have, which wasn't in here, a call that folks can out in the community can call us when they can't find the proper services, and we'll help that as well. Her mother would like her to go to residential substance use treatment to stop smoking and get the help that she needs. So how we would help in that? Well, the mom would work with the agency in that county, and the agency would then try to find the residential place for that young person. Then you get to the funding piece. If they find an available bed, does Medicaid care for it? Does the child have a third party? Or what do we need to do to help? And we support a lot of young people getting into residential substance use treatment and mental health treatment services. So that's kind of what LSF does. Certainly, if you have questions, throw those in the chat, and we'd like to hear about it. And thanks for attending today, Julie.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dusty. So if you have questions, particularly around funding, seems like that seems to be like an interesting question that people are usually like, how does that work? But we really appreciate all that you've explained here today. One thing I do want to mention is Dusty mentioned that there's a phone number. At the end of this, we're going to put into the chat a link to an attachment, a Word document that lists out contact information for each of the systems. And I'll have like phone numbers as well as web addresses and even emails of people to contact. So you'll see some of it on the slides, but you'll get a copy of it at the end. So put something in the chat if you have to.